Chapter 5. She was in the forest again, cool green reaching up on either side of her as she lay facing the white expanse of sky above. She was alone, as she had been so many times before when she'd found herself here. Off to her right, a bird called incessantly, its high-pitched chirp continually punctuating the emerald stillness. She'd heard that bird before. She turned toward it, or tried to turn, but pain sledgehammered through her body and she cried out, her exclamation a muted gasp. The bird chirped more rapidly until its call became a shrill, insistent whine that made her teeth vibrate. She cried out again, her voice breaking in a series of sobs. There, there, Lisa, came a voice beside her. A woman in white leaned over her, and suddenly the chirping ceased. Everything was still except the sledgehammer that continued to pummel her. I turned off the monitor, dear. We won't need it now that you're awake. Where? It was all she could manage. There wasn't room for both language and that sledgehammer inside her. You're in the hospital, dear. Acute care unit. I'm Joyce. I've been here nearly every day since they brought you in. When? Like the 5 W's of a news story. Where? When? Almost 3 weeks now. You've been unconscious most of that time. Lisa's voice was little more than a croak. Why? The third W. The nurse looked at her watch and made a notation on a chart. I'll let the doctor tell you all you want to know. She'll be along in a bit. She inserted a needle into a vial and drew a colorless liquid into the syringe. Checked the amount, then injected it into a clear plastic tube that hung over Lisa's bed. This will help. You get some rest now. She could not rest, would not possibly be able to. Lisa, a pause. Lisa, can you hear me? She forced open her eyes to find a tall, heavy-set woman standing by her bed. Graying hair pulled back in an unforgiving bun. Narrow black glasses perched on the end of her nose. Stethoscope jammed into the pocket of her white hospital coat like some serpentine creature caught trying to escape. On her lapel was a tag that said Julia Mahoney, MD. But she easily could have been a female bouncer in one of the downtown bars. I'm Dr. Mahoney, she said, and the musical quality of her voice erased Lisa's severe first impression. In those few words were the softened edges of an Irish accent, and as she spoke, she placed a hand gently on Lisa's arm. You've been my patient since you were admitted to the ACU. We've spoken before, but you weren't completely conscious. It's good to see you fully awake. I won't ask you how you're feeling. I think I know. She smiled, and Lisa could see in her eyes that she did know. Your parents are waiting outside. I thought it would be a good idea to have them here when I spoke to you. Is it all right if I ask them to come in? The sledgehammer was still there, but it seemed less immediate, as if striking her softly from a distance. Lisa said. She meant to say yes, but her mouth seemed full of cotton and wouldn't form the word. Good. The doctor nodded to someone behind her, and a door opened. 2 people came in. Lizzie, honey. It was her mother's voice, but surely it wasn't her mother who had spoken. Diane Morrison was much younger than the person who stood at the end of her hospital bed. Lines now carved a face that in the past had elicited many admiring comments. Your mother could have been a model, Lisa's friend often said. Would they say that now? Her hair, once thick and richly auburn, looked thin and lifeless, pulled carelessly back in a metal clip. Her slim figure, so envied by friends and neighbors, now looked frail, almost gaunt, and her slender fingers, long accustomed to intricate work with pens and graphics software, looked like white bones that fidgeted aimlessly with the strap of her purse. We've missed you so much. Welcome back. Her voice caught, and she brushed its sudden tears with the back of her hand. Standing behind her, Jack Morrison put his hands on his wife's shoulders. He was a tall, athletic-looking man who kept in shape with regular visits to the gym, but he, too, seemed different, older somehow than the last time she'd seen him. Could that really have been three weeks ago? Clearing his throat, he said, Great to see you awake at last, Lisa. Don't cry, Mom, Lisa intended to say, but her mouth wouldn't manufacture the words properly, and they came out, Don't worry. She frowned, moved her tongue around inside her mouth, but the words refused to form. It's the medication we've given you for the pain, Lisa, said Dr. Mahoney. You'll get used to it after a bit. How long will she have to be on it? Jack asked. The morphine. Even in her drug-fuzzy condition, Lisa heard the catch in his voice, knew what he was thinking.